just for mental health, you know? It's like I didn't ever realize how much I needed friendships.
Most of the houses have 0 lot lines, so my next door neighbor's house is right there when I'm barbecuing outside or we're in the hot tub. Like,
The timelines in California are so strict
yes,
and so stressful.
yes.
And here it's not like that. So is your home 2,800 square feet?
It's actually
Okay.
it was the only house available in the neighborhood at the time.
Why did you choose Franklin?
We rented it first. So my wife was very fixated on Franklin.
Okay.
And I was more like, okay, but I want to give it some time to really explore. But we live in West Haven in Franklin, which is a pretty unique neighborhood.
Yeah.
And I'd actually never been there before. All of our visits, I'd never gone to West Haven. And so, but Tony's like, that's where we got to go. And it's awesome for the kids. So yeah, we chose that neighborhood specifically for the kids.
Yeah.
School's right in the middle of the neighborhood. You're not going to not meet people. If you don't like
Yeah.
people, don't move there. There's definitely people that have moved in there since. I'm like, why did you move here? Like, you don't socialize. You don't,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Franklin reminds me a lot of the town I grew up in Pleasanton, which is right next door to Livermore, where we came from. It reminded me a lot of Pleasanton growing up. It feels very safe. You know, I know it's not cheap. You know, it's definitely, we have a lot of people that when I talk on the phone, a lot of Californians go, yeah, we hear Franklin's really this, and
It's
that.
just like Pleasanton.
It's a lot like Pleasanton.
Identical with price. Like that Pleasanton was,
Right.
you know,
Right.
bougie.
It felt very comfortable for me, like moving into that town, because it did give me that, I won't say California feel. 'Cause
Yeah.
people here hate that. I know it's the same size as Pleasanton. You know, I have friends in California that have the stereotypical like view of what Tennessee looks like. I think driving up 65, you would think we're on 580 in Pleasanton, Livermore. You're like, this is Tennessee. Like, where's all the dirt roads and the tractors? And, you
Country
know,
songs be telling me about.
yeah. So we chose our neighborhood just for our kids, and we wanted to be able to just meet people. That's kind of it. We looked in Hendersonville, but ultimately, I had family that was down in Franklin.
Yeah.
That's not the reason why we chose it, but it just made sense to be closer
Yeah.
to people that we knew.
That makes
It's
sense.
such a great area. But
Yeah, it's been great.
it does feel like Pleasanton to me. And that's
Yeah.
kind of why I chose Hendersonville.
Right.
I started my search in Thompson Station and then
Yep.
Franklin. And it felt good, but it just didn't feel at home yet.
Right.
And so looking around and everything, Hendersonville is the home of Johnny Cash and
Yeah.
Taylor Swift. And I don't know, that drew me in. And then the price that I can get a brand new home for
Right.
in the same developer as West Haven.
Correct.
Durham Farms, I believe, is the same developer as West Haven is what I
Right.
was told. So it's such a great neighborhood, and
Yeah.
there's so many people, there's so many kids, there's so many events, and that's at that time I'm like, I need people in my life. Like,
Yes.
people really make a big, just for mental health, you know. It's like I didn't ever realize how much I needed friendships and all that.
Well, especially after what we experienced in California
Yeah.
too, like just not being able to see people. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people are drawn to. You hear a lot of Californians are like, I don't want a place that feels like California.
Yeah.
You know, they want land. They want to be away from people. Most of the houses have 0 lot lines, so my next door neighbor's house is right there when I'm barbecuing outside or we're in the hot tub. Like, it's just weird, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've told Lisa this before. I think Durham Farms is like a good transition if you're coming from the city. Like, I'm from the city. I
Right.
lived in apartments. So I think it was like, for me, it was the perfect blend of like having a house, but then also feeling like you're still around people
Right.
and you can meet people. So that was like
Right.
super huge.
right.
Yeah. Plus the lakes, like I'm 3
Yes.
miles from the lake. That ultimately always brings me happiness. Being
Yeah.
on the water.
Maybe we'll get to go on the boat one day. Maybe I'll get the invite.
I
You see,
know.
everyone's always out there with you, but not me. So.
Okay, I think that's a hint, Lisa. I think you need to invite him out next time you go on the boat.
But no, having access to obviously all the outdoor stuff and
Yeah.
Oh man.
I mean, we had plenty of-
waterfalls and
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I guess there's a lot of sound cheap, like a lot of hidden beauty in the state in terms of like waterfalls and I don't know all the lakes and everything. It's I mean it's I don't know. I think of California we used to say like, hey, you can be in the mountains and the beach in the same day.
You can.
You can.
If there's no traffic.
Correct. Correct. But
And then I don't know. Have you ever done that?
no, I
You've
never.
done that.
No, we never did that.
I have. I'm like,
Have you really?
Yeah, I
Like
drove up the
Mammoth?
one from like
Yeah.
LA to Seattle, and it's freaking gorgeous because you've got like the ocean
Yeah.
and you've got the mountains all there.
Yeah,
So.
but yeah, like we're gonna drive to Tahoe in the morning, and then we're gonna go down to Capitola in the same day. Never would do that.
No.
But I
No.
do miss being around the beach. We were an hour from Santa Cruz and Capitola,
Yeah.
and now we're 7 hours. But the beaches here are absolutely beautiful when you go down to Florida and
Yeah.
Alabama and all that. So
Yeah. And so I love Santa Cruz, but so does everyone else in the Bay Area.
Correct.
So
That's
then
where
I'm
everyone
like,
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that enjoyable for me because it's like It's so crowded.
Yeah.
I think that's the other reason why I love it here. The crowding. It's so enjoyable to go on a hike and like not the whole
Yeah.
the whole Bay Area is not there with
Right.
me.
It is funny. Like another thing with here difference is like when you go get coffee or something like that, like expect to be there for at least 10 minutes because someone's going to ask you about your hat or your bag or, and so we're in California, you're used to like, I got to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Run. Here, it's definitely a lot slower.
Yeah.
You know, and so it took a while to get used to some things, and also business-wise too. I think for work, you know, like in California, you get a purchase, and I got to request fees from title, and I'd get them like that day. And here, everyone's like, yeah, you know, you'll get them. You know,
I'll put that on my list.
yeah. I mean, they get it done. We get the job done.
Yeah.
But everyone's just a lot more relaxed. Like, hey, we'll get it done. Or there's in the odd time where like, hey, I need an extra day to close, which doesn't happen that often at all. But everyone, for the most part, is like, okay. are we going to close? Like, yeah, it's just like the wire's taken for whatever it is. It's some, you know, something that's outside of our control, but we're going to close. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. It's more laid back.
Yeah.
It's funny that you say that because the timelines in California are so strict
Yes.
and so stressful.
Yes.
And here it's not like that. And it's so much easier.
Well, one of the things I always laugh at when like my first purchase here is like the earnest money deposit.
It was like $400 or something.
$1,000 for like a $600,000 house. I'm like, California, what's 3%?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I put $1,000 down. I'm like, so it's like a handshake. Like, yeah, sure, I'm gonna buy your house.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
But I like that too. But I remember my first purchase, for whatever reason, it had nothing to do with the loan, but we had to close a day, whatever. Borrower didn't sign their closing disclosure or something like that. But having to tell the agent, I remember I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna hate me, they're gonna eat me up, and they're like, okay, you know, I'm like, okay,
You're like, whew.
yeah,
It's just so much more easy to do business here.
yeah, I think so
And
too.
it might be just because we have so much experience.
Yeah.
And then we come here and
Yeah.
we're used to just rocking and rolling and getting it done.
Well, you've seen a lot more deals than like, you know, the two of us because you've been in the business for longer. But yeah, I'm sure, you know, you've seen quite a difference in personalities and
Personalities,
Yeah.
the market, just so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
So much has happened in 20 years.
yes, yes,
But one thing I do know is it's always the same thing.
right,
Ups, downs,
Right.
up, down. People come, people go.
right.
But
A lot of people leaving right now, the business.
So we were just
Yeah.
in our office meeting, and
Yeah.
47 agents retired this year.
From your,
SimpliHOM.
is that right?
Yeah, because it
Wow.
was just such a tough year.
So they just retired. They're like, we're good.
Yeah, like this is the year we're just going to be done. You know, because
Yeah.
it's a tough year.
That's hard, like to think of like when we have an idea when we want to retire, but like then to kind of be forced into it.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Yeah. I don't think I could ever retire from this job. I love it way too much.
Yeah. I talk about that with my wife too. It's like at a point I've always had a certain age for retirement, and my dad, who was he was in the trades, he was a sheet metal worker, awesome job, took care of our family, but he retired at 55.
Nice.
Wow.
So I'm always had that in my head, and then now as I get closer to that, I'm like, am I even close to retiring? Whatever. But but the same thing. Like I love what I do, and I think I do a good job with it. And so if like, why would I turn something down? You know, maybe I won't do the volume that
Yeah.
but if I can still do something. and help
Something to
people.
keep us busy and
Yeah.
give us a purpose
Yeah.
and make someone's life
Right.
great with a good loan.
Right. Absolutely.
And hopefully their dream house.
Right. You
Yeah.
definitely find a lot of people moving from California buying their dream house here because you brought up earlier, like a dump or a shack. What do you get for, I just had somebody close in California in the Bay Area on a house that here in Franklin would probably be $350,000, and it was more
Yeah.
than double that.
Yeah. Or they're like losing out. I have a friend who's looking now and she's losing out on like multiple offers. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's like all the houses she puts an offer in is going to need like all this work and
Yeah.
all this money is going to have to be put into it.
You definitely
so.
just feel for people right
Yeah.
now. I mean, but they're making the wise decision of getting into the market because there's
Yeah.
so many people right now. They're just like, I'm just going to wait. Like I've never bought a stock when it was at the very bottom. Never, and all the houses I bought, it was always, am I qualified? Can I afford the payment? Good. And
Yeah.
every single house is turned into a bigger house or what. So I think interest rates have definitely been, in the news a lot more the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Because there's such fluctuation. And so a lot of people are trying to get smart or think they're smart with trying to time everything. And you feel bad for those people that 2 years ago when I was telling them rates were at 5%, they're like, nah, and then they're still renting.
Yeah.
So the thousands of dollars they've given their landlord
Well, and
pay
the
for that
rents
person's
are
mortgage.
pretty high.
Yeah,
Like
a lot of
so high right now. So
times it's not much of a difference between your rent payment and what your mortgage would be.
Yeah.
So
right. That's
Yeah.
why I try to tell people, just buy anything.
yeah,
Buy anything that you can.
yeah,
Get a condo.
yeah,
Hold it for 2 years.
yeah.
Then you can refi. Then you can, I'm sure there's going to be equity.
First house I ever bought was in Springtown,
Mm-hmm.
in Livermore. At the time was not like that.
It wasn't desirable,
No, but I got a house and then
but it worked.
I kept it for like 10 years. It was a rental, and then oddly enough, the person that rented my house, they ended up buying it directly from me.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they sold it to a former colleague of mine at the high school that I used to work with.
Mm-hmm.
I did her loan
Oh, that's
for
crazy.
my house, and I do her
Circle of life.
refinances. And so yeah, I still I still make money on the first house I ever bought.
Uh-huh.
But the idea is that I just got in the market.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot of power.
My first 3 years of teaching, it was pretty awesome for dating. I lived at home,
Mm-hmm.
but I saved all I saved all my money. My parents were like, hey, we want you to buy a house, so we're going to do, so I just saved all the money, and I was able to buy a house at 24, 25.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah,
What was the rate when you
6%,
6%.
6%, and I had a second. I had a first and a second.
What
And
year was that?
2005.
Yep.
Wow.
So
How much was the house?
$555 on the nose.
Wow.
Which we definitely overpaid, and it went underwater. It was for
The short sale.
we didn't short sale it, but like the value went way below what we paid for because
Okay.
of 08 and all that stuff. So my buddy who I bought the house with, we were like, should we sell it? And then it's like, we're not going to make anything. So we had a fixed loan though. So we had a 30-year fix. So
okay.
we can afford the payment. That's how our mentality was. But yeah, then it got to the point where I met my wife, he met his wife. So we just said, let's just make it a rental.
Right.
Just keep it. And so we ended up keeping it till 2015.
Wow.
So,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I think anyone that bought in 2005, if they were going to sell, it would be a short sale because that was
100%.
Like the height of the market.
100%.
Yeah.
I think at the time too, our loan officer said, "Hey, you can do 0% because that was before 0% down."
Yeah.
And of course, to me, I'm like, "Sweet, I get to
Yeah.
keep all this money I saved."
Right.
And then talking with my parents, they're like, "You want to put something down?" Like in the 0% down would have been a terrible loan. I found out after the fact. Obviously, like probably in 3 years, I'd have a balloon payment or something crazy. And so I got a 30-year fixed in 2005. Yeah, 6%.
Wow.
Now the people that live in that house have like 2.875 or 2.9.
Because you refied them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I always joke, I'm like, I'll never work with you again, until you move or whatever.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
That's true.
there's a lot of people that are sitting good right now. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
very-
Which also I feel like added to the weirdness of this last year. It's like people are like, "Oh, I got a good interest rate. I'm not going to be able to beat that." Yeah.
yeah, we've been looking at like trying to buy. My goal would be buy another house in our neighborhood as a rental, and then when you do the math on because rates are obviously higher now than when we bought, but you do the math of what the rent would be, and it almost makes too much sense because our neighborhood is highly desirable. And there's a lot of people that will move in for 6 months to a year, whatever it is. Our place could rent for double our mortgage right now, which is gross. Like, just think that could,
Yeah, that's crazy.
So what
Yeah.
was that number then if you were to rent your home?
Our house could probably rent between $6,500 to $7,000.
That's crazy.
Wow.
2,800 square feet.
That's like
Is that-
Wow.
Bay Area rental.
In our neighborhood is obviously, we got in at a great time. Like, if we would have bought right, but we found the neighborhood. We're like, let's do it. And we got in, not thinking back, looking back on it. So I think it was obviously a smart move because, and we have a really low interest rate, never refinance. But yeah, I think that's the whole thing is just get in. You find a place you want you want to live, you want your kids to be, go for it. And eventually, like the whole thing, everyone's posting stuff right now about rates and you can refinance. Like,
So is your home 2,800 square feet?
just probably a little bit less. My wife would know better more than I do. In fact, I got the house.
4-bedroom?
It's actually a 3-bedroom with a big bonus room.
Okay.
It was the only house available in the neighborhood at the time, and I was actually on a fishing trip in Alaska with my dad, and we'd lost out on about 4 homes. We started writing letters and putting them in mailboxes. We got a couple because people were like, "Hey, we're gonna."
This
That's
is what
the
I
way
was
to do
talking
it.
about
That's the
when
way
I
to
got my
we
house.
got 4 people. In fact, one of the guys.
Please pick me.
Yeah. So, but I wanted to be careful too because, there are a lot of agents in the neighborhood, and I wasn't trying to be offensive. But if you want to use your agent, whatever it is, whatever's gonna be best for you, the seller, we'll work with you.
Yeah.
And so we had 4 people call us, and we went and looked at their house. And one guy we were really considering, and then a couple new builds popped up. So we're like, well, if we can get a new house for the same price, like why would we do that? So, but the process that they did was a lot different than the house we bought in Livermore, because we literally got in line, and they did a lottery, and we were the 3rd in line, so we got the 3rd house. Like that's how we got our house there in Livermore. Here, there's like, here's the base price, make your best offer. We'll let you know by 5 p.m. So we're like, well, what do we like? We have.
Was this an existing?
These are new homes, new builds in West Haven.
Okay.
So they're like, $800,000. Like, here's the base price. Make us your best offer.
You went in 100 over, right?
We had to go like 8 or 10. Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
But at the time, we're like, whatever, because we had the money. But I was on this fishing trip in Alaska, so we'd lost out on 3 or 4 houses, and I got a DocuSign to sign our offer. To sit, and I'm like, whatever. So I clicked it. Tony picked the price because we were like making up numbers, like, I don't know. So, and then I'm on the fishing boat all day, have no cell phone service, and I get off the boat at the end.
Oh God, stress. That's so stressful.
At that time, I was actually just really exhausted from this trip because it's a pretty cool trip I do with my dad every 2 years, but that's another podcast. But I got off the boat at like 5 o'clock, and I powered on my phone, and there's a picture of my daughter jumping in front of a house.
Wow.
And this is what my reaction. I looked at my dad to go, we got a house. Like I was just like tired. I'm like, okay, but the stress of, we found this neighborhood we want to be in. We rented for a time being. And 2021 was nuts. Prices were going up really, really fast. And like, the house, if we would have bought when we first moved, we probably just, probably like $200,000 less, to be honest.
I know.
So yeah, no, it was a hard time to, to buy. We started getting nervous. Like, are we gonna have to like look in a different neighborhood? Because the kids were in school right there too. Yeah. So we wanted to
I remember all of this.
Oh, yeah.
I just trip out because we're in similar neighborhoods.
Correct.
For the city, right?
Yeah.
Like Durham Farms is voted the best and all these things. They have whatever. So you can rent out for about $7,000 a month.
Yeah.
And the home just like yours would rent out for about $3,500 to $3,700 in our neighborhood.
And we're an hour away.
We're an hour away.
Yeah.
We have great schools, just
your
like
school.
you.
Yeah.
We have all the amenities close by. We just don't have a downtown, like historic in Hendersonville. But Gallatin does, and then we have all the good shopping too. But I trip out. So it's really an affordability thing as well. So.
Yeah, I mean, but if you go, from Franklin, if you go 30 minutes east, Murfreesboro, I mean, it's a lot cheaper and more affordable there, and there's a lot of great neighborhoods, and you're only 30 minutes away from Franklin. You're also like 30 minutes from Nashville. So, and you guys are what, 30 minutes from Nashville? 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
20 minutes, yep.
So like our big thing too is I need to be by the airport.
Yeah.
Right? We're Californians. We go there a lot.
Yeah.
I need 20 minutes is my comfort zone.
Yeah.
And then 20 minutes to Broadway.
Yeah.
So, and then 3 miles from the lake.
See, I got a chance to kind of explore a little bit because our family is here. So we didn't have to rent anywhere. So we were really fortunate in that sense. And we started in Franklin. Okay. Because everybody, I don't know if this happened to you guys, but everybody was like, Williamson County Schools.
That's exactly what everyone said.
You have to go there.
Yep.
So I was just set on, I didn't even want to look at anything else. And we kind of had an unrealistic expectation. We're like, remember us talking to our realtor and we're like, yeah, we want a house for $300,000, $400,000 in Franklin.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, no, that's not
going to happen.
That's not happening. So
You're like, dang it. Now you bought
right.
I end up exactly in Durham Farms. But I just noticed really quickly that, well, one, on the personal side of things, my daughter, she just wasn't really feeling the vibes with the girls, and she was in middle school when we moved here. So it was a different vibe going on that we kind of recognized that we were experiencing back when we lived in LA. Right. And we lived in the Palisades for a time period, so she went to school there, and we also have a Brentwood there too, which is the Brentwood here.
We have a Brentwood and Antioch.
Yeah. It's
similar, right? I don't have Antioch though. I can't. Yeah. I don't have that one.
It's comparable.
Yes, it is. It is.
It's comparable.
Yeah.
It's what?
Antioch is comparable to this Antioch.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah, we had Brentwood and Antioch
That's
next to Livermore back in California. And then Brentwood and Antioch here. And Antioch does have a
And your Brentwood
vibe.
is nice too?
It's not like this Brentwood.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it's affordable, but it's nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's similar vibes as far as what she was telling me. And so we actually were planning on going to Grassland Middle School. She was going to do volleyball there. And she's like, Mom, I'm sorry, but these girls are really snobby and I'm just not feeling it. She's like, and my mom had just bought a house in Nashville. So she's like, can we just try the school out in Nashville? So we ended up moving from Franklin to Nashville. So we lived in Nashville for a little bit in like Green Hills backyards, Whitland Historic District.
Yep.
But so we got a chance to kind of really explore. So it was really great. And then I think when I got to Hendersonville, we had some friends who were like, you need to check out Durham Farms. And I'm like, we can get what we would pay in Franklin, but like a brand new build for the same price. And whereas in Franklin, there's going to be like probably repairs, or it's a smaller home, it's older.
Yep.
And we just didn't like the style of the home. We really liked how it looked. So, so I really got a chance to kind of like fill out the different vibes and neighborhoods.